Welcome back, guys. This is Jason, KM4ACK. Today, let's take a look at running pat Winlink from the command line and why you would actually even want to do that. Stick around and we'll get right to it. Hey guys, real quick, I got to give a shout out to Sean. He's my latest patron over on Patreon. If you'd like to help support the channel, I'll leave a link to Patreon down in the description below. Okay, so the first question you may be asking is, why would I want to even run pat from the command line to begin with? And the answer is pretty simple. It makes pat very, very powerful to be able to do some automated stuff. If you guys are familiar with my find RDOP script, then I'm using pat from the command line, but I'm doing it in a script, inside of a script. And in fact, I'll leave a link to that find RDOP script right up at the top of the page. And guys, I'm working on another script that's going to help us work with pat in better ways going forward. So hopefully make things easier so we don't have to open 3 or 4 terminal windows and manually type in a bunch of commands each time we're ready to run pat. And honestly, you're actually already using pat at the command line, even though you don't realize it. So if you type in pat HTTP, this is one way that we can start the HTTP server that you interface with through the web browser. But what else is available with that? Well, let's just type pat space help. And you'll get a whole list of things. Now, the options we're not going to really get into today. What I do want to do is I want to look at this right up here, these commands, and what all is available. We're not going to look at every single one of them, but we are going to look at a few of them. So the first thing I want to look at is the RMS list. Now, this is the same list that the find RDOP script generates. So I use pat from the command line to generate that list, and then I manipulate it and make it searchable and present it to you inside of the script that I wrote. But on any one of these commands, if you want to know more about it, we can type pat RMS list help. And that will give you all of the options that are available for that particular command. If we want to download a particular mode or a particular band, then we can use those switches to make that happen. So for instance, if we type pat RMS list, and we'll use a mode RDOP, what this is going to do is that is going to return every RDOP list in every band that's known to the Winlink system. Now that's a little bit too much information to try to cipher through, but what if we say -B and then 80 meters? This time, every result that we see will just be an 80 meter, on the 80 meter band. Now we could also do something else with that. So let's, this time, we're going to grab the 80 meter band, and I'm just going to put all of that information into a text file. So I'm going to put it on my desktop. And we'll call it 80 meter, RDOP list.txt. And if we hit return this time, now let's minimize this. Let's go out to our desktop, and we have this new text document right here. If we open that up, it took all of the results out of that search and put them into a text document, which will make it quite a bit easier to filter through and search for something if you were looking for one particular station. But that's just one particular way that we can use pat from the command line. Let's do the pat help again and take a look at some of those other options that we have. Now, you guys are familiar with this. If you're already running pat, that's the pat configure. And that opens up your configuration file so that you can modify that as you need to. Here's another one though that is super, super handy. Pat Connect. So let's see what we can do with Pat Connect. So clear that screen and let's say Pat Connect help. Go ahead and hit return. And it gives us a lot of information. We'll just take a look at some of these examples down here though. So if we say Pat Connect Telnet, then it's going to go out over the internet and make a regular Winlink connection for us. If we want to do a packet connection, we could use this next option here. We could say Pat Connect AX25. Now AX25 is your protocol that you're running, or I believe Pat calls it your transport mode maybe. But anyway, this is for packet work. And then you give it a colon, 3 forward slashes, and the name of the station that you wanted to connect to. Now the same thing works with RDOP. So here it is with RDOP. So we'd use Pat Connect, RDOP colon 3 forward slashes, and the station that we wanted to connect to. Next example down is the same thing, but if you notice in this case, it adds this extra information. And this is if you're running rig control, but you want to use a frequency of 5350. So now when you start your connection, you've got rig control configured and Pat will go ahead and swap the radio for you over to 5350. So this is just some of the ways that we can use it from the command line. So to give you a quick example, we'll just take the easy one here. We'll say Pat Connect Telnet. We hit enter and it's going out and connecting and checking for any new messages and would send out any other messages that we had in the outbox. So that's one more way we can use Pat from the command line. Now we'll look at one more here, and that's if we wanted to read our messages from the command line. Now this is probably the least one that I use, just because I prefer it in the GUI interface. But maybe you're doing an SSH into your machine, you don't have access to the GUI interface, you could actually pick up and read your messages. Let's say Pat Read. And there you go, it pulls up your message box. So if I want to see what's in my inbox, I would press 0 and hit return. And there's the messages that are in my inbox currently. So if you wanted to read one of these, you could select the message number. You see here it says choose the message number. You just enter this corresponding message number 0, 1, 2, or 3, and you'd be able to go ahead and read that message. So I'm going to press Control C to get out of this. I don't think anybody's particularly interested in reading my messages. How can this be useful for us going forward? How can we use this to make our life a bit easier? Well, let's look again at the Pat Connect help file. And what I want to do is I want to create a script very quickly that's going to connect us over 2 meters to a particular station. All right, there we go. Let's say nano, and I'm going to call this WC4EOC because that's the station name that I want to connect to. So all I'm doing is creating a blank file right now. So inside this file, I'm going to make a quick comment that just says connect to WC4EOC via packet. And I always like to date things and put my call in there. So the command was very simple. Pat Connect. We're going to say AX25 colon and 3 forward slashes. And then we're just going to give it the target call sign. So WC4, 4EOC-8 is the identifier that, or the SSID that I need with that. Now let's quickly, I'm going to just jump to a new tab here, so I've still got my script open right here. And let's run that pat connect help again. Let's just verify that I didn't miss anything. So right here, so yeah, AX25 colon 3 forward slashes and the target call. Let's take a look right here, AX25, the colon 3 forward slashes and the call. Now, just for the fun of it, I'm going to go ahead and give it the question mark and say FREQ 145050. We'll go ahead and exit out of this with Control X, Y, and Enter. And if I do a list command here, you'll see my new script right here. Now, I'm not even going to worry about making this executable. We're just going to run it just like it is. One mistake that I did see is right here. I forgot the equal sign. So frequency equals and then your frequency of choice. So let's escape out of this. And guys, I've already got Direwolf and Kiss Attach and all that good stuff running in the background, rig control. All of that's already opened up and ready. So we're just going to say bash WC4 EOC. Now, what this is, this particular command, it tells the system to open our WC4 EOC file with bash. So let's go ahead and press return and see if we can't make a connection there. Tell you what, before we do that, I'm going to just open up FLRig. Yep, and you'll see that we're sitting on 7078. So let's go ahead and try that connection. We'll open this back up. You can see that it's moved over to 145050 and it's starting to make that connection. So we can use that that information that we learned from how to work with Pat from the command line to do things like this. We could also have that script say start Direwolf for us, start the Kiss Attach for us. We could have it do a lot of different things for us in the background before it started and tried to make that connection. So just wanted to bring this to you. A lot of people don't realize that you can utilize Pat from the command line like that. And looking at this, you can see that it has that it did complete our connection and it disconnected. And it was even nice enough to move the rig back to where I had it to begin with. All right, guys, I hope you found this one helpful. Get out there and play with this stuff a little bit. See what you can come up with. We will see you guys on the next video. Until then, 7-3.